Good morning. I call this meeting of the Pinellas County School Board November 12, 2024 to order. We will begin with an invocation led by Pastor Don Pratt of St. Paul United Methodist Church in Largo, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Vice Chair Carol Cook and the National Anthem. Please stand and remain standing until the completion of the National Anthem. Pastor Pratt, good morning.
Good morning. Will you join me? Dear God, we thank you for loving us, and we thank you for the grace that you show us each day. And sometimes we get so concerned with the future and what's going to happen that we miss the joy and the beauty of the day. So help us to be able to live in the present and see the gifts all around us. Thank you for these folks who serve on this board, because we know to serve pleases you. So please give them wisdom and compassion and guidance as they do what's best for the children and the families in our county. And I pray, Lord, that you help them to always remember their purpose and their goal with all the other distractions that come their way. Help them stay focused on the children. And Lord, today we especially want to thank you for Carol Cook, for her many years of service to the families and children in this county, both as an educator and as a part of this board. We thank you for the lives that she has changed, the lives she has touched, for the good that she has done. And pray today that you'll help her to know how celebrated she is and how loved she is. And Lord, may her service encourage us and challenge us to make our lives count, to make sure everywhere we go is better when we leave, and every conversation that we would help those around us to be left with joy and with hope because of our influence in their lives. We thank you for the privilege to be here this day, to enjoy this day and breathe in this air and give you thanks. We pray in your name. Amen.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. We will now share a video celebrating our Teachers of the Year. Let's take a look.
We are here at the Clearwater Marine Aquarium celebrating our Teachers of the Year. A teacher from every school is being honored this afternoon. Special luncheons, special activities, just recognizing the hard work that they do each and every day at our schools. Each of our teachers have been recognized by their schools, their staffs, their communities as their Teacher of the Year. And as we look at trying the very difficult job of selecting our top 10 finalists, we look for those teachers who have a proven record of highest student achievement, connecting with their students and their families to enrich their lives at their school, and are really a true advocate of the teaching profession.
You know, one of our goals is positive staff experiences, and when you talk about Teachers of the Year, these are the very best of the best, and we wanted to honor them in a way that went beyond just the evening of excellence, to treat each and every teacher as if they are a top 10 finalist, as if they are the Teacher of the Year.
When we think about our Teachers of the Year, we know these are the teachers that not only are doing everything they can for their students, but also a leader in their schools and the culture that they're creating in their school community. And for us, this is the best day that we get to celebrate those that we work hard each day for back at the foundation.
Being here means that, hey, you know what you're doing. You're also an example teacher for everyone else at your school. I love my kids. So everything that I've been through in my life, I've had cancer, I've been through a lot, and my kids have been the ones that really brought me out of everything.
It's awesome to represent my school because my peers, who are a phenomenal group of teachers themselves, voted, and I was chosen as our Teacher of the Year to represent Curtis.
The theme for Superintendent Hendrick is better and stronger together, and what better concept to kind of convey that than music? The first thing we have to do is teach the volunteers how to play the instruments, and then we'll teach them how to play a pattern that can assemble to be kind of like the rhythm section of a band. And then from there, we can move on to Michael Jackson's Billie Jean. I'm going to play that on trombone, but not until the participants themselves have come together to make a rhythm section of a band on instruments they've never played before with music that they've never seen before. We hope that teachers will be able to kind of see, hear, and feel this assembly of something that's greater than just individuals. It becomes something larger because we are, in fact, stronger together.
We are, in fact, stronger together. That was really a wonderful, wonderful lunch, and to see Mr. Mandrian run all of that was just fantastic, and certainly affirmed his being the Pinellas Teacher of the Year last year. We look forward to the evening of excellence in January when we find out the Teacher of the Year for this year for Pinellas County. But it was a great lunch. Thank you, staff, for all you did to put that on. It's very, very special. Introduction of professional and community organization representatives. Isabel Mascarenas, our Public Information Officer.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Hendrick, and staff. It is my pleasure to introduce the following representatives of community and professional organizations. From the Pinellas Classroom Teachers Association, Lee Bryant, President. From the Pinellas County Council for PTAs, Reagan Miller. Representing the North Pinellas League of Women Voters, Debbie Entricken. From the Pinellas Arts for a Complete Education Coalition, Terry Lynn George. Today we have a presentation from the Student Rights and Responsibility Committee. Please welcome Michaela Thompson and Alex Bell from Richard O. Jacobson Technical High School and their principal, Joshua Wolfenden.
Thank you. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Hendrick, and staff. It is our pleasure to present the Student Rights and Responsibilities Committee report for Richard O. Jacobson Technical High School at Seminole. My name is Michaela Thompson. I am a junior in veterinarian assisting program at Richard O. Jacobson Technical High School.
And I'm Alex Bell, and I'm a senior in the Marine Mechanics program at Jacobson Tech High.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to tell you a little bit about our school. We are a district application program high school that supports every student graduating not only with a high school diploma, but with one or more industry certifications as well.
We have earned a school grade of A for the last 3 years, and we are determined to earn another A for this school year. We offer 7 different career technical education programs and a variety of industry certification opportunities.
Our gaming students earn software certification in C++, and Unity and commercial arts students earn certifications in Adobe products.
Our construction and electric students earn certifications through the National Center for Construction Education and Research, and our marine mechanics students earn certifications to become Yamaha technicians.
Our veterinarian students complete a 250-hour internship to earn their Certified Veterinarian Assistant CVA certification. At our school, we have 6 cows, 4 horses, 7 goats, and lots of rabbits and few birds. We also have a partnership with Pinellas County Animal Services. They bring dogs and cats to our school each Monday and come pick them up each Thursday. And our vet students work in a state-of-the-art veterinarian science building made possible through the partnership between the Pinellas Education Foundation and the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation.
Our nursing students earn their EKG certification working in our technologically advanced nursing lab. They complete clinical hours working with residents at Oak Manor Assisted Living Facility and nursing students who complete their high school graduation requirements by the end of their junior year attend Pinellas Technical College full-time as seniors so they can graduate with their licensed practical nurse certification.
Each year of our career programs has an active advisory board made up of businesses, partners, and professionals in the community. They help us make sure that our programs stay at the forefront of the industry. In 2021, Magnet Schools of America recognized us as the #1 emerging magnet school in America.
Our veterinary assisting, game and simulation, construction, and electric programs have all been recognized by the Career Education Board of Academies of Distinction with distinguished honors. In February, which is also Career Technical Education Month, our commercial arts program will also be awarded with this prestigious recognition.
Our school is thoroughly invested in the Skills USA competition. Students from each of our programs compete at the regional, state, and national levels, and we also have students representing our school within Skills USA student leadership serving as regional officers, state officers, and even the state high school presidents.
Our marine mechanics program partners with Yamaha, Suzuki, and Mercury, which provide the tools, curriculum, and resources such as motors, rigging equipment, and electric systems, so the students in this program get the experience they need to earn certifications and work in the marine industry.
Students from our veterinarian assistant program make up the largest FFA chapter in Pinellas County. Each year, our vet students show rabbits and dairy heifers at the Florida State Fair. Last year, one of our students took 4th place in the state fair for the rabbit showmanship. Our veterinary assistant students take pictures of the dogs and cats they work with from animal services and post them to the vet program's Instagram page. We also have a very high adoption rate for the animals we work with.
Each year, our gaming students participate in the Next Generation Tech Competition. This is a Shark Tank-style district-wide competition where students develop games, apps, software, and other real-world products. The students will work in collaborative teams for months to design, develop, troubleshoot, and produce their final product.
Our commercial arts students have designed marketing materials for a number of local businesses and community partners. Students from the commercial arts program were commissioned to design a sign highlighting all the service organizations in Seminole, including the Kiwanis, Rotary, Elks, and several others. The sign stands at a busy intersection outside St. Petersburg College Seminoles campus. One of our students even designed a logo for PCS Office of Strategic Partnerships.
Our construction and electricity programs partner with Pinellas County Mosquito Control to build chicken coops for sentinel chickens they use to identify bloodborne viruses in our community. We also partner with the PCS Elementary Science Education Office to build maker space carts for every PCS elementary school.
We currently have 13 seniors from the nursing program dual enrolled full-time at Pinellas Technical College pursuing their LPN certifications. We are working with SPC's College of Nursing to develop a pathway for students to pursue their Bachelor of Science in Nursing upon graduation.
We are so proud of our school and the opportunities that we have available to us at Tech High. We believe in using our platform to serve our community. Last year, we partnered with an organization called Rise Against Hunger for a meal packaging event where Tech High students packaged over 20,000 meals for people in need. This year, we are working with a group called Sleep in Heavenly Peace, and Tech High students will build over 50 bunk beds for kids in our community that don't have a bed of their own.
Our school ensures that we graduate with the industry certifications, dual enrollment credits, advanced placement credits, and a network of business partners in our community, and the hands-on experience of working in our field, which will truly set us apart from the competition. We are applying for colleges and universities and applying for positions in our chosen industry or enlisting in the military.
Tech High has given us the skills to not only pursue our path after high school, but to be leaders on the path we have chosen. We are excited to see what the future holds, and we are grateful that we have the opportunity to be part of such a great school.
We would like to say thank you to the school board, Mr. Hendrick and the Pinellas Education Foundation, Mr. Hunt and the Career Technical Education Office, and everyone who has made it possible for Richard O. Dickinson Technical High School to be our school. As a result of our experiences at Tech High, we have a clear vision of where we are going and how we're going to make our impact to the world. We are Tech High.
Thank you, Michaela and Alex. It's good to see you, Mr. Wolfenden. You have much to be proud of. Thank you for being here. Amendments to the agenda. Mr. Hendrick, are there any amendments to the agenda?
There are no amendments, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Board members, any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion and second to adopt the agenda? Second. Motion from Mrs. Kane and a second from Mrs. Peters. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes 7-0. Our special agenda order today, item 4.1, the presentation of proclamation observing National Education Support Professionals Day, November 20th, 2024. May I have a motion and second to approve this item?
I'll make a motion.
A motion from Mrs. Long and a second from Mrs. Meyer. Mr. Hendrick, would you please introduce?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Every employee in our school district is so critical to the success of our children, and certainly our educational support professionals are right on the front lines with that. And so to share more about that and to celebrate our Chief Human Resources Officer, Ms. Texel.
Good morning, Madam Chair, school board members, Mr. Hendrick, and staff. I am extremely honored to be here this morning to recognize, as Mr. Hendrick mentioned, our support professionals we have in our district. November 20th, 2024 is designated as National Educational Support Professionals Day. We are extremely proud of each of these employees, and oftentimes when we visit our schools and we talk to our teachers in our classrooms, the very first thing they say is, I could not do my job without our support staff, and I echo that, being a former teacher and principal as well. They are the heart of our schools, and they do a wonderful job supporting not only our students, but our families and our community that we do live in. So we just want to make sure that we recognize our support employees. We are proud to present this proclamation honoring these employees.
Thank you. Mrs. Peters, would you please read the proclamation?
Thank you, Madam Chair. National Education Support Professionals Day. Whereas public schools are the backbone of our democracy, providing young people with the tools they need to maintain our nation's precious values of freedom, civility, and equality. And whereas education support professionals are an integral part of the education process. And whereas education support professionals provide a safe and healthy learning environment for our students. And whereas educational professionals work tirelessly to serve our children and communities with care and professionalism. And now, therefore, the school board and superintendent of Pinellas County Schools hereby proclaims Wednesday, November 20th as National Education Support Professionals Day, signed this 12th day of November 2024. I would also like to add that thanks to the passing of our referendum, we are now, our community also expressed their support for education support professionals. So I want to just make an extra note of that and thank our community for that.
Excellent, thank you, Mrs. Peters. We have a motion and a second to approve item 4.1. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes 7-0. Public comments on agenda items. Mrs. Hauk, are there any speakers for today?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have 2 speakers for agenda items.
Thank you. Members of the public have 3 separate opportunities to address the board when we gather for a business meeting. The first is public comment on agenda items, like we'll do now. The second is at public hearings, most of which are policies. And the last is after our meeting, when speakers may address the general business of the district. At each opportunity for public input, board members are here to listen to you. This is not a time for interaction, but the board will take your comments into consideration before we vote on agenda items. The board is committed to a standard of civility and decorum in conducting our meetings, and this includes refraining from clapping or making audible noises during or after a speaker's comments. We appreciate you assisting us in maintaining that civil environment. Lastly, please note that this meeting and all public comments will be broadcast live on the internet, and the video will be publicly archived. Members of the public may always communicate with the board through our email address, board@pcsb.org, or by calling the board office at 727-588-6300. Thank you. Please go ahead and call the speakers.
The first speaker is Donna Levengood. She is speaking to item 8.6. The next speaker will be Mark Clutho, speaking to item 7.6, 7.11, 7.12, 7.13, 7.14, and 7.16.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak today, and Chairman and board members. It's been a long time since I've been in this room. My name is Donna Levengood. I'm a former teacher at Pinellas County Schools for about 47 years, but enjoying my retirement now. But today I have the pleasure of speaking to you about Betty Ray Ivy, who happens to be a coworker of mine, a supervisor, a mentor, and a friend. Her dedication to early childhood education is her life's work, and it's a beacon to everyone who knows her. Through every opportunity and every decision, she chooses to be involved with change and growth for children. Betty Ray began her career as a kindergarten teacher in a private school. Then she moved to Pinellas County School System as a classroom teacher, a resource teacher, a kindergarten teacher, a kindergarten supervisor, a principal, an executive intern, and an Area 3 superintendent. When the school system first began the integration of teachers and then of students in 1970, she chose to be involved in her own way by working with Louis McCoy at Perkins Elementary. Her next opportunity was moving from the classroom to the curriculum department as a resource teacher, and then our very first kindergarten supervisor. What a change that was. For those of you that may have not been aware, kindergarten classes were first offered as, Carol Cook, you'll recognize this, voluntary, half day, 2 half days actually. I happen to be involved in that. You'd drop off your morning kids and pick up your afternoon kids and do the same thing all over again. Gradually, kindergarten became mandated, full day, challenging, and then there was the equipment, the construction, the hiring, the curriculum writing for all subject areas in kindergarten. And that became Betty Ray's next hurdle. She continued growing a more robust curriculum for kindergarten. I remember going into kindergarten myself that year and saying, well, you know, I'm all for the warm, fuzzy feelings that we want kids to have in kindergarten, but I need a curriculum. And she said, you'll be happy here. Look at this. We had a book about this thick that we had put together ourselves, she and some associates. Definitely outlined a curriculum for kindergarten, everything from tubbing, which was math, to the letter people. Okay, yeah, we did have letter people back then. Betty Ray also represented the school district.
I'm so sorry, that's the 3 minutes, but thank you so much. Thank you.
Mark Lutho, Largo. You know, it used to be that you would give time for someone speaking to agenda items, but you don't like the First Amendment here. 7.6, approval for disaster recovery services. Yeah, you make for the disasters. And 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Oh, look at this. We have HVAC again. HVAC again, oh yeah. And these stupid buildings. So what do we get? Cause and effect. Yes. Cause and effect. Even as climate risk rise, short-term thinking prevails. That's what you're bringing. And then world breaks hottest days record again. And they're saying that 2024 is on pace for the hottest year on record. Much of Amazon burns with dire implications. That's what these agenda items are bringing, because you're doing more of the same. your purchasing items in accordance with bid policies and procedures. Your bid policies and procedures. This is what they bring. You keep doing same old, and global warming intensified Hurricane Helene. Correlation. Climate inequality on full display in St. Pete neighborhood. Again, it's called cause and effect. And then, believe it or not, from the Wall Street Journal, ways to keep your house comfortable without using the AC. Now, when you're making a school building, it's called high-performance passive solar building, which cuts down on the use of the air conditioning.
Madam Chair, there are no other speakers for agenda items.
Thank you. We don't have any unfinished business today. Agenda item 7, the consent agenda. May I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion.
Motion from Mrs. Long and a second from Mrs. Meyer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 7-0. First item on our non-consent agenda today, item 8.1, setting a public hearing and authorizing the advertisement of the public hearing to consider the amendment to policy 5120, assignment within district. This is the first reading. May I have a motion and a second to approve this item?
So moved. Second.
A motion from Mrs. Cook and a second from Mrs. Edmond. Mr. Hendrick, would you please introduce this item?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. It's not often we bring a rezone to the board. In fact, it's been, I think, 14 years. But this is related to our K-8 conversion of Southern Oak and Walsingham Elementaries, and we wanted to make sure that that new zone for those two schools makes the most sense for the families that live nearby, in particular, those that would choose Largo Middle School, which is right across the street from one of these zones that we want to make sure is permanently able to attend that school, and as well as Fugit. And so here to explain that process is our Director of Strategic Planning and Policy, Mrs. Leanna Eisen. Mrs. Eisen.
Good morning, Madam Chair, board members, Superintendent Hendrick, staff, and community. In item 8.1, we are recommending amendments to policy 5120, assignment within district, to support operational efficiency. The amendment is an update to the date of the revised grid atlas. The grid atlas divides the county into 1,123 grids, which are used to create school zones. The grid has been adjusted to best accommodate an upcoming multifamily residential development by placing that new development in the school zone for the nearest elementary school, which is Fugit Elementary School. We recommend setting a public hearing for this amendment to policy 5120 in January 2025.
Thank you. Board members, any discussion on this item? I know we reviewed it at workshop together. Seeing none, I have a motion and second on the floor to approve item 8.1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 7-0. Item 8.2, setting a public hearing and authorizing the advertisement of the public hearing to consider the amendment to policies 5410.01, required core curriculum, promotion, retention, acceleration in elementary, 5420.01, reporting student progress in elementary, 5410.02, regular program core curriculum, promotion, retention, and acceleration for middle school, 5420.03, reporting student progress high school, 5430, class rank, 5440, high school credit and student performance standards, 5460, graduation requirements, 5463, credits from other schools, and 2470, education of English learners. This is the first reading. May I have a motion and a second to approve this item? Motion by Mrs. Peters, second by Mrs. Edmond. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Hendrick, could you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Collectively, these policies are known as our student progression plan together, and they outline how students articulate through our system. And annually, as the state makes updates to state laws, we have to update our student progression plan. This year, there are some small changes, but one that I do want to point out is the Seal of Fine Arts, which is new and something that our district actually took the lead on, and Senator Roussan sponsored and finally passed through both chambers in Tallahassee. And so we're excited to have that for our students as well. And to explain the process and the policy adjustments is, again, our Director of Strategic Planning and Policy, Mrs. Eisen.
As Mr. Hendricks said, each fall we propose updates to the student progression policies, which typically align with revised legislation. I will review these policies today in the groups of elementary, middle, and high, as opposed to numerical order. The first group is elementary school progression policies, and that starts with 5410-01, required core curriculum, promotion, retention, acceleration, elementary. This policy is heavily rearranged and reorganized for flow and clarity and to reduce redundancy. We've revised it in accordance with Senate Bill 7004, which is specific for substantial reading and math deficiencies in VPK and the required parental notification for substantial deficiencies. And we've added information about the New Worlds Reading Initiative pursuant to House Bill 1361. In 5420-01, reporting student progress elementary, we've added substantial math deficiencies in Section 2, parent-teacher conference. For middle school progression policies, 5410.02, regular program core curriculum, promotion, retention, acceleration, middle school. We've added standardized formatting to ease reference throughout the policies, and we've removed specific course names because of the variety of courses that we offer to meet each student's academic needs. We've clarified the reading course requirement and removed the reading course requirement for grade 6 students who score at least a level 3 on the statewide standardized reading or English language arts assessment. The high school progression policies, all of these, the next set of policies, have all been rearranged and reorganized to improve flow and clarity. The first of the set of high school progression policies is 5420-03, reporting student progress high school. We've moved the exam requirements to the top of Section 5, final examinations, which was previously lettered D. We've increased the allowable college visit days to 6 over the course of the 4-year high school career, and we've added clear and consistent headings throughout. 5430, class rank. We've moved the honors diploma into the diploma designation section, removed outdated designations, added the Seal of Fine Arts per House Bill 523, and simplified Section 3E, other diploma designations. We recommend repealing Policy 5440, high school credit and student performance standards, and embedding its components in 5420-03 and 5460. For Policy 5460, graduation requirements, we've added the definition of credit from Policy 5440, the financial literacy requirement, which was enacted in 2023, and we've updated the elective credits accordingly. We've also added the practical arts to the arts credit requirement. And we've updated the days and minutes to reflect our current schedules. We've removed outdated requirements and moved 2 sections from Policy 5440 into Section 3 of this policy. Those changes are progress monitoring plan is now in Section 3C, progress towards graduation, and the credit acceleration program from 5440 is moved to Section 3K. 5463, credits from other schools. We've moved the credits from out of state from the bottom of this policy to the top, moved early admission to college to Section D, transfer of college credit earned for high school, and clarified the requirements for the transfer of Algebra 1 credit. Last, Policy 2470, education of English learners. This policy was updated as we updated the English learner section of all of the other progression plan policies. The specific amendments to this policy were updating the placement of English learners, including the English Learning Committee, updating retention of English learners, and adding the good cause exemption. We recommend public hearing for these policies in January 2025.
Thank you, Mrs. Eisen. Board members, any discussion? Thank you and your office for how thorough you are with each of the policies, updating them, making them easier to read, certainly making sure they conform with statute, and then also listening to ideas that we might bring forward as well. So thank you very much. We have a motion and second on the floor to approve item 8.2. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Thank you. And one more. Item 8.3, setting a public hearing and authorizing the advertisement of the public hearing to consider the amendment to policy 6144, investments. This is the first reading. May I have a motion and a second? Motion from Mrs. Edmond and a second from Mrs. Meyer. Mr. Hendrick, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This change in policy is at the request really of the committee that helps to do and oversee our investment policy. As Mr. Jefferson came on as our CFO, he's met with the committee and they've taken a look at the structure, the number of members that looks at our investments. And as the board knows, and we talked about in our workshop, we're not high-risk investors. We don't roll in the stock market every day. We're definitely long-term, low-risk. And so the investment strategy and the committee meetings reflect that need to meet. And so to explain a little bit more is our Director of Strategic Planning and Policy. One more time, Mrs. Isom.
This one will be much shorter. Policy 6144, investments, is being revised as a result of operational continuous improvement. There are technical changes throughout, such as formatting and position titles. The two substantive changes in this policy are in Section 7, Investment Oversight Committee, where we've modified the number of committee members and the frequency of committee meetings, and in Section 9, Performance Measurement, where it's been broadened to more accurately reflect the available benchmark options. Again, we recommend setting a public hearing for these policies to be held in January 2025.
Thank you. Board members, any discussion? We have a motion and second on the floor to approve item 8.3. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes 7-0. We'll shift into a section of something we don't get to do very often, which is naming buildings and a school. So that's very exciting. So we'll start with item 8.4, request approval of the naming of a new K-8 school, formerly Southern Oak and Walsingham Elementary Schools. Mr. Hendrick, would you please introduce this?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Several months ago, we came to the board and asked for permission, and the board agreed to combine Southern Oak and Walsingham Elementary Schools into our third K-8 school in the district, and the first one that is not full magnet, that includes a zone. K-8s have proven very popular with parents, and as we continue to look at school choice and knowing that we have open enrollment and parents can, if they so choose, enroll their child in almost any school in our district, we wanted to make this an offering for our students in the mid-county area. We're excited about this. The process has gone on now, and there's actually multiple steps that have happened, lots of community input. In fact, today, item 7.16 and item 8.1 were both related to this combination school. But today, the board's task is to choose a name for this facility. And so to explain the process of gathering public input and how that's gone, and to refresh your memory and the public's about the workshop, that presentation, Deputy Superintendent Mrs. Woodford.
Thank you. As you know, board members, we workshopped the naming of these three facilities on September 17th. As required by Policy 7250, the community must be notified of the opportunity to submit a school facility name through a variety of communication methods, and the input period must be at least 2 weeks. Our input window was September 16th through September 30th, and the means utilized to communicate this window included the district website, school websites, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, X, the PCS newsroom, school marquees. We had open house events. We used PCS Messenger, flyers with QR codes, and school presentations. At the closing of the window, the number of submissions were 128 submissions for the K-8, 65 submissions for the Child Care Center, and 33 submissions for the Learning Center. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Kopersky is going to explain the balloting process.
Thank you, Mr. Hendrick. Madam Chair, board members, as we discussed in the workshop, the balloting and voting process will be as follows. After I finish this introduction, I will hand out to each board member a packet of green ballots. It'll be 3 ballots, actually, in case we need more than 1 round of voting, but you use ballot number 1 first, obviously. But before you complete your ballot, the chair will facilitate discussion and debate as to what the board members believe, if you have any input on what the name should be of the school. Once there is no further discussion, then you would complete that ballot. I will then come around and collect them personally from you. You've got to put your name on there, as well as the name of the school that you would like to have it be named. And then I will come back here with the assistance of your capable CFO. I will tally those ballots, and then I will report back to the chair. So if a majority of the board selected the exact same name, I will then advise the chair and indicate to her that it would be appropriate to entertain a motion to name the school that name, which would then get a second, and then you would vote on it. If a majority does not have the exact same name, then we would need a second round of balloting. And so what we will do is I will report to you the top 2 vote getters, including ties of the names. And so that might just be 2, it might be 3, or it could be 7 if it's a tie, if each one of you picked a different name. And so we will then go through that until we reach a majority of the board reaching the exact same name. Now, a couple of final notes before I turn it back over. I'm going to, when I'm tallying, I'm going to be looking for the exact same name. So for example, if you name it after a person's name with a middle initial or middle name is not the exact same name as that person's name without their middle initial or middle name. And so I will be pretty strict on the exact name that you will put down. And then if we need a second round of voting, then it should be probably quickly resolved after that. And second, while you have all the community's input, and it is attached for the public to see on the online agenda, you do know that the school board is not bound by those suggestions on that list. Every board member can put whatever name they feel like on their ballot when they're voting. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it back to you, Madam Chair, for the beginning of discussion, and I'll hand out the ballots. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kapersky and Mrs. Woodford. Board members, we had some discussion in our recent workshop about all 3 of these facilities. So we're starting with the K-8 school. Would anybody like to share some thoughts around this one? Mrs. Long?
Yes, there are 2 schools that have been around a long time, and they have many alumni, including Mr. Hendrick, who went to Walsingham. I just learned that yesterday. I really like the name Walsingham Oaks because it honors both schools. It honors the alumni and the memories that those people have of going to school there. And I think the community, I've been in education in this county for 40-some years. It would be hard to learn a new name, and I like the way it flows from the mouth. It's a beautiful name.
Anyone else? Push it on them. Mrs. Peters?
Thank you. I know, I'm trying to remember where the buttons are. As I was absent at the workshop, I did listen to, especially this part of the workshop, several times. And I agree that Walsingham Oaks is a really good name for this school. I think that it represents the combination of the 2 schools coming together, and it does sound very nice.
One thing I might mention I'm curious about is, I know, so it's Walsingham and then Southern Oak with no S. And currently, the name of the school is Southern Oak, which doesn't have an S. I remember in workshop, I think we thought, well, Walsingham Oaks maybe sounds better, but I do wonder if for the people at Southern Oak, if keeping Oak with no S would be more of a honor to their name. So if we consider Walsingham Oak Elementary, I thought. Mrs. Meyer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree. I like Walsingham Oak or Oaks, either one. I do like the flow of Oaks better than Oak. It's more of an abrupt stopping point, it feels like. But are we also, we're changing this to a K through 8. So in addition to Walsingham Oaks, I think we all, for the most part, agree that we like some variation of that. do you think that we also need to add K through 8 at the end of that? Yes, okay. Seeing lots of head nods. Okay, thank you.
And along the lines that you mentioned, Mrs. Hine, is Oak, Southern Oak. I think it's important if you're going to say that you're keeping the namesake, that you keep it the way it is, Oak. Thank you.
I know we have Sanderlin is a K8, but nobody, I mean, I don't even know its formal name. People just call it Sanderlin, you know? So would it be, would it just be K8 school? You know, if we are going with Walsingham Oak K8 school?
Both K8 schools have K8 in their name, their official name.
Okay, thank you.
K8 school.
Mrs. Cook?
Yeah. I taught at Southern Oak, and I actually heard the name both ways. There are a lot of the people in the community, and I think it may be because it flows a little bit better, Southern Oaks, it came up. So I don't know whether it is as big a deal. The faculty would know that it's not Southern Oak or Southern Oaks, you know, that it is Southern Oak and not Southern Oaks. So I'm struggling with this one because I really like the flow of Southern Oaks. I mean, no, I don't. Walsingham Oaks. And so, you know, I tend to go with that because I think it's a more beautiful sounding name. And I will agree with Mrs. Meyer that it's not quite as abrupt. So I think as time goes by, it will end up being Walsingham Oaks as people refer to it anyway. So I think I'm going to go with Walsingham Oaks.
Mr. Hendrick?
Yes, Madam Chair, I just wanted to double check, and I have both Sanderlin and Madeira Beach Fundamental are K8. The word school is not included in their official names.
Okay. Any other discussion? Mrs. Peters?
Is it K8 or K-8?
K-8.
Okay.
Well, if Mr. Copersi is going to be that strict, I want to make sure that I do it right.
Okay, so fill out the name on the preference line and then be sure to sign it with your name. Any other input? Okay, so we'll do our first round.
So ballot 2 and 3 will not be required. Walsingham Oaks K-8 with an S. So Madam Chair, you can entertain a motion to name the school Walsingham Oaks K-8.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to name the school Walsingham Oaks K-8 school? Motion from Mrs. Long and a second from Mrs. Meyer. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes 7-0. Okay, that's very exciting. Item 8.5, request approval of the naming of a non-school building. It's the Professional Development Leadership Center. Mr. Hendrick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you've seen and members of the public have seen across the street, we're in the process of building a facility that replaced what was a training center that had been there for many, many years that we used. However, that facility was aging significantly and needed to be knocked down. We're very grateful from our local legislative delegation who gave a large appropriation to help fund the building across the street, which we've been calling the Leadership Center, and it will be opening in July of 2025. You can certainly see the progress across the street. I know that we workshopped this as well. You know the policy on this. You can name this after a person living or deceased, or a name of any other kind. And the balloting process is the same, so I don't think Mr. Kapersky is going to explain that again. He's just going to pass out those ballots. This time they are pink. And so, Madam Chair, I'll pass it back to you to entertain discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Hendrick. School board members, again, we discussed once in workshop. Would anyone like to offer some thoughts for this building? We received, okay, Mrs. Cook?
I was going to let somebody else speak on this one, but we did have some conversation during the workshop, just like we did with the policies that we passed or moved forward today. The concept behind it, the money that was raised for it, the experience and the things that we have witnessed, I would really like to suggest that we name this after Superintendent Mike Grego. I would also like to use his full name, Dr. Michael A. Grego, Leadership Center. That's where we're going to be using it so that others can learn leadership. That was a main focus of what he did in this district. And I would just like to throw that out as a suggestion.
Thank you. Mrs. Edmond?
Thank you. When we, as a board, decided to amend the policy so that it could be named after a person, when I asked for or made that recommendation for the change, it was because of Dr. Michael A. Grego and his leadership. Mrs. Cook just acknowledged the fact that that is being built because of his work. And he has made significant contributions to Pinellas County Schools during his tenure as the superintendent. So thank you.
Mrs. Meyer?
I appreciate all the comments, and I know we had quite a bit of dialogue about this, and I appreciate both Ms. Edmond and Ms. Cook sharing about Dr. Grego. I do want to, similarly to the last one, what do we want, what are we thinking for the end of that? I know we had talked about Leadership Institute, Center for Leadership, Center for Excellence. I mean, there's a lot of different suggestions. So what are some of your thoughts on those?
That's a great question. I feel like Leadership Center kind of feels like a default, but Center for Leadership or Center for Excellence certainly feels a little more formal and perhaps elevating. Does anyone else have thoughts on that?
And it's my understanding that this facility will not solely be used by PCS. There'll be opportunities for community groups to come in. So having a name that speaks to that is important as well. So I do like, you actually threw out a couple that I like, but I believe it was Leadership Institute, because that provides an opportunity for whoever to come in to provide some institutional knowledge or education, professional development, all the things, and it's not just center.
Mrs. Meyer?
Anyone have any thoughts on, I like Leadership Institute, but any thoughts on excellence? I mean, we talk about, excellence for all. I mean, do we want to use that too, or are we making it too long if we add that? Just a thought.
Mr. Hendrick, you're allowed to weigh in. Mrs. Woodford, Mr. Herbeck, you sit up here all the time.
This is for the board to vote,
welcome.
Madam Chair. I think Dr. Grego is a fantastic choice. My only request would be that leadership is somewhere in there. It is a spot where we do a lot of leadership training. As Mrs. Cook mentioned, it was a major theme of his decade of service, and so I think Institute, Leadership Center, any of those things are great, but I just request that leadership be included.
I do like the Leadership Institute idea and what you said about outside organizations. I mean, companies might, I don't know if we're offering it for rent or not, but if you're hosting your company's retreat there, then you're saying we are having it at Pinellas County Schools, Grego Leadership Institute, and that also elevates us, as it should. Mrs. Kane?
I really like that suggestion. I think if we left it as Dr. Grego Leadership Institute, it would be referenced as the Grego Leadership Institute, as opposed to if we use the entire name, I feel like the name is going to get knocked off and it's just going to be called the Leadership Institute. And if the goal is really, I think, to honor Dr. Grego, I think if we use his last name and just said Dr. Grego Leadership Institute, it's shorter, it's more to the point, and people will use that in referencing the building. That's just my suggestion.
Mrs. Cook?
Yeah, I think it'll end up being called the Grego Institute anyway, but having said that, to have his whole name, there is no doubt as to who we are naming this institute after, and I think it's good to have it. I mean, we have Morgan Fitzgerald. Oftentimes it's called Fitzgerald. We do that with Rawlings. I mean, I can go through a whole lot of names with the schools where those first names have dropped, but legally their name is, Marjorie Kinnan Rollins, that type of thing. So I would hope that we would use the whole name, but we can call it Grego Leadership Institute if we want to.
Mrs. Edmond?
Just a last comment, and Mrs. Cook, you articulated it perfectly. That's the point of having the name and acknowledging him. Thank you.
I'm hearing Dr. Michael A. Grego Leadership Institute. Is there any other discussion? It might go without saying, but I just think I might also point out that, when I was early getting involved in our schools and I was looking at data, and this is 2008, 9, 10, and then you keep going, 15, 16, 17. When you look at what happened here in Pinellas County Schools from when he became superintendent and over 10 years, about 10 years of his leadership, our high school graduation rate went up 20%. I mean, significant gains, plus the work with the Bridging the Gap plan and with the community and so much. So I just don't want it to be forgotten, and I'm sure it won't be. But maybe we can have a plaque inside the building, somehow enumerate what it is that this person did in the form of leadership and excellence for our county. I certainly think it's very deserving. With that, let's fill out our first ballot. Ballot number 1.
Madam Chair, a majority has named the building the Dr. Michael A. Grego Leadership Institute.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to accept that as the name? Moved by Mrs. Cook, second by everybody. We'll give it to Mrs. Kane. Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously, 7-0. Our third building for today, item 8.6, request approval of the naming of a non-school building, the Pinellas County Schools Child Care Center, formerly Pinellas Secondary School. Mr. Hendrick, would you please introduce this item?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Same process as before. I think these are going to be yellow ballots now. Just for some context, we do have our Child Care Center there, which was developed out of the board's request for positive staff experiences and to try to look at recruitment retention strategies for our staff. Currently, we have about 80 children there, 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds, and 3-year-olds, and we'll have capacity for, I think, 160 next year. But also in that building are some other spaces that include those students who come into public schools for the very first time to get an assessment for disabilities. So maybe speech and hearing, something else, autism, and they're looking for that first IEP. So it's where families have literally, some of them, their very first public school experience when their child is coming there. There are some other offices in the pre-K space there. So it is more than just a child care center. It is also some professional office space and a spot where parents come and get assessments for the very first time.
Thank you. And we will go through the same process. Mr. Kapersky, I don't know if you need to illuminate it anymore. Okay. So I will open it up for discussion on this building. Board members, Mrs. Cook?
I may as well be just really pushy today. But you heard a speaker come and talk about Betty Ray Ivy. She spoke for 3 minutes, just giving highlights, and she could not finish. That's how important Betty Ray Ivy has been in this district. So I know we talked about it, and I explained my association with Betty Ray and how much I admire her and appreciated the work that she did in this district. So one of the names that I would like to suggest is the Betty Ray Ivy Learning Center. We were kind of looking at Betty Ray Ivy Building, Betty Ray Ivy, and we couldn't really come up with a good name. But we seemed to agree on naming it for Betty Ray Ivy. So my suggestion would be Betty Ray Ivy Learning Center for consideration.
Board members, Mrs. Meyer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Cook, for sharing about Betty Ray Ivy and all that she has done for Pinellas County Schools. I had the opportunity to speak with Ms. Levengood recently about your suggestion, and she shared even more with me, and so much that she wanted to come here and speak today on her behalf. And I support that. I support naming this this early child care center, whatever we're calling it right now, Betty Ray Ivy. I also like your suggestion of learning center, but I do think I would like to add early learning center, because to your point, Mr. Hendrick, yes, there are other things happening in that building, but it is early, right, for those students. And I just think that it really gives a designation to the building, and then it also speaks to Betty Ray Ivy's legacy in early childhood learning. So that's my suggestion.
Mrs. Long?
I agree with Ms. Myers. She was an outstanding educator, and she loved the little ones, and that's where it all begins. And even with the early childhood daycare center there, the next floor with the, guess it's not called Fiddlers anymore, is it? It shows my age. It is the beginning. Families find out what their child needs, and that is so important. The sooner we identify the little ones, the better future they have. So I am in total agreement. I like the Early Learning Center.
Mrs. Edmond?
Thank you. I had an opportunity to go to the facility yesterday, and it's more than early education. The educational support is provided up until adult ed. So it's not primarily early education. My recommendation would be to call it a development and learning center, because it's about child development beyond, depending on your exceptionalities and what your needs may be. Also housed there are private school employees. So again, one of the requests was that we not label it an early learning center, because more happens there. So I encourage you all to consider that, because it's a development and learning center in totality.
Mrs. Kane?
Thank you so much. I agree. I love the idea of naming it after Betty Ray Ivy, and I also agree with Ms. Edmonds' comments, because that was part of the discussion at the workshop, was how this center was going to be used for more than early childhood care and things like that. So I kind of like the idea, and this is just another suggestion, because it nods also to Betty Ivy's love for kind of expanding and pushing into the future. I like the idea of naming it a Discovery Center. So the Betty Ray Ivy Discovery Center, which could be used for more than early childhood as well.
I just want to share that was my input as well. As I was reading back through the list last night, I saw that somebody had put, they had actually put Early Explorers Discovery Center, and I thought that word discovery does occur at all paths. And as you said, Mrs. Edmond, we have all ages and all paths of education. So I was also going to suggest Discovery Center. So just wanted to echo that. So we've heard, so I hear everyone is in agreement on Betty Ray Ivy. And then we've heard Learning Center, Early Learning Center, Development and Learning Center, Discovery Center. Other thoughts?
I just have a question. The building we knocked down was a Discovery Center. Has enough time gone by that we've kind of forgotten about that? Or is it still, people still going to think that that's what it is? And I'm seeing heads shaking over there. That, you know, because that was the first thing that came to my mind, is are we going to confuse it with what used to be the Discovery Center?
See, and that is why multiple terms matters. I don't
Yeah.
even know what building you're speaking of.
Where the leadership, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, across the street, the building that we used to use was called the Discovery Center, and that's where we did training, and that's now where the Dr. Michael A. Grego Leadership Institute will be. I do think it's pretty recent in that sense. You know, lots of great suggestions. You could just go with the Betty Ray Ivy Center as well.
And then people would just call it the Ivy Center. Oh, my child's in preschool or early child care, and at the Ivy Center, or I'm going for assessment at the Ivy Center, or I'm receiving guidance.
Or the Developmental Center was also one that it could be. The Betty Ray Ivy on the front of it, but not just, you know. So this is a tough one. But we all seem to be in agreement with Betty Ray, so I'm good with that.
What are we not thinking of? I don't like, I don't want to have a thought after the meeting, right? I don't want to have a second thought. Are we, is there any process in place that we could, you know, come back? I hate to do that, but is there somewhere we can land on Betty Ray Ivy?
Foundational Center? No, that's not.
Mrs. Edmond?
Or you can just go to the process and see how many ballots we go through. I do want to add that on all three facility namings, I saw Wimbish, the Wimbish family, whether it was Ralph Wimbish, Seabet Wimbish, and there were different components or different wordings for those. And I just want to highlight the fact that Seabet Wimbish did make contributions to the educational system as it relates to integration. Although she was an educator through the system as Betty Ray, I think it's important to acknowledge that those were names listed on all three.
Mrs. Meyer?
Exploration? Is that too close to something we already have, or? I mean, it's
Another
just an idea.
one on the suggestion list was Growing Center. I mean, I don't know if there's anything else named that, but I like that one too. So something like that, if we're not going to use Discovery, I think, to encompass what it will be used for. Now we have 10 suggestions.
I like exploration as well. Betty Ray Ivy Exploration Center. So could someone review the, I mean, and also the things we currently have housed there might shift, not the childcare, because we made facility improvements and, you know, that's not going to shift. But some of those other functions that have been moved there may. So I just might mention that.
And if we go back to the beginning of Learning Center, no matter what we put there, it would be covered. Not that I am so stuck on it, hear me that. But, you know, we may be making a bigger deal out of it. We're honoring the name and describing what it is.
Mrs. Peters?
Thank you. I lost track of who suggested Betty Ray Ivy Center. Simply put, I think it allows for, over the years, evolving the center into whatever it becomes. And it's obviously a facility for multiple uses already. If we call it the Betty Ray Ivy Center, we're honoring the name. It's a center. It's going to have the PCS logo on it. And I think that it's shorter, it's succinct. I'm not always succinct, but I don't know, I just think that it's simple.
Thank you. Mrs. Edmond?
Madam Chair, I move that we vote.
Yeah, I was going there. I was going there. Yeah, let's do it. So let's go ahead and take a first ballot.
Madam Chair and board members, you will need ballot number 2. The top 2 vote getters were Betty Ray Ivy Discovery Center and Betty Ray Ivy Exploration Center. So on ballot number 2, please select between one of those two, Betty Ray Ivy Discovery Center or Betty Ray Ivy Exploration Center.
Are we allowed to have discussion?
Yes, of course.
Would anyone like to share anything? I mean, I heard that the Discovery Center was a recent building. I recently had to have our younger son assessed for a processing disorder, something like that, and I'm thinking about being, a parent of a young child, whether you're going to preschool or you have to have your child assessed for speech language or autism or some kind of thing, and the guidance counselor is telling you, okay, here's where you go. And just to have that word and have that extra word in there as opposed to, and I know center's not on the table anymore, but I was just imagining if someone tells me I'm going to the Exploration Center or I'm going to the Discovery Center, it just feels better as a parent bringing your child to something like that. It feels a little more hopeful. So, if anyone has any other thoughts.
So again, either Betty Ray Ivy Discovery Center or Betty Ray Ivy Exploration Center. Madam Chair, a majority of the board selected Betty Ray Ivy Discovery Center. So
Very good. May I have a motion and a second to approve naming that facility the Betty Ray Ivy Discovery Center? Motion from Mrs. Peters and a second from Mrs. Edmond. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously 7-0. That was great fun, wasn't it? Going through all of those. What an honor. It is an absolutely honor to be able to participate in that process and make those decisions. Thank you all. Moving on to new business. Item 9.1, items introduced by the superintendent. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to pause for a moment before we move to new business. There's something significant today that I know a number of people in the audience are here for, and that is that today is Mrs. Cook's final school board meeting with us. And I know several of us are prepared to make more extensive remarks, but she's been on the school board for 24 years. And in that time, she has served as chair of the school board 6 times, and she has served as vice chair of the school board 6 times. So she has spent half or more than half of her time on the school board in one of these 2 chairs and in a leadership position. So I would like to ask Mrs. Cook if she would change seats with me and finish the rest of this meeting as the chair of the Pinellas County School Board.
Oh, boy. I just disappeared. Oh, there we go. Oh, thank you. All right, I got it. All right, so now we move on to new business. Items introduced by the superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank the community for their overwhelming support of the Pinellas County Schools referendum that was passed last Tuesday. Because of our community, we can continue to strengthen music, art, and reading programs and ensure that students have current technology. The new referendum cycle will begin on July 1st, 2025, and in addition to continuing the supplement for salary for teachers, as was mentioned earlier by Ms. Peters, the referendum will provide now a salary supplement for all support staff. It also gives us more opportunities to enhance the student experience for Pinellas County students. I want to thank our school board members for your advocacy over the last several months through this process, and especially the community advocates who organized themselves to support the referendum, several of which are here in the audience today. Pinellas County Schools is in a great place because of all of us. You saw the video about Teachers of the Year, and it was truly an honor to celebrate our 130 Teachers of the Year. And I want to thank the Pinellas Education Foundation and a number of sponsors who helped to make that happen. Our top 10 Teachers of the Year break-ins will be happening in the next couple days, so look forward to those. And I especially want to thank Mr. Madrinan from Seminole High School. He had a really high bar for the next Teacher of the Year to follow in terms of a keynote speech. And speaking of celebrating our employees and break-ins, we did just recently do break-ins for our Support Employees of the Year. And I'd like to announce our 5 finalists for Support Employee of the Year who will be celebrated in a luncheon on December 6th and will name our Support Employee of the Year. This year, those finalists are Classroom Support, our Child Development Associate from Mount Vernon Elementary School, Danielle Niermeyer. For the Maintenance, Safety, Health, and Transportation category, a Licensed Practical Nurse from Madeira Beach Fundamental K-8, Kendra Cote. From Food and Nutrition, the Food Nutrition Manager from Pinellas Park High School, April Lee Domino. From Plant Operations, the Head Plant Operator from Tarpon Springs Middle School, Andrew Tremblay. And finally, from the Clerical category, from the Professional Learning Department Secretary to Selena Medina. Congratulations to over 100 nominees, and especially to these 5 finalists. Some upcoming events to take note of. Tomorrow is the Great American Teach-In across Pinellas County Schools and our country. I believe this is the 36th annual Great American Teach-In. It's not too late to sign up at a local school, but you only have a couple hours left, so get in there for tomorrow. We also have our pre-kindergarten application period opening up next week. Our applications for pre-K for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, and the program application period runs from November 21st through December 9th. Coming up next week at 5:30 on November 20th, we have a YouTube and Facebook Live event to help parents understand the application progress, what their choices are, and all of the ins and outs. Our early learning experts will be there to explain the process and answer questions. You can find more information on our website. And we know that we lost a number of days due to hurricanes, and so coming up, we do have a break, but of course with that comes our holiday break challenge. So we're encouraging our students to take part in those holiday break challenges, especially this year, to prevent learning loss. There will be a lot of opportunities. We'll look forward to those. And our superintendent standout this meeting is Mrs. Susie Haker from Westgate Elementary School, who has been an employee with Pinellas County Schools for 26 years. Her colleague notes that she is truly one of a kind, always keeping things running smoothly at Westgate without missing a beat, with a smile on her face. From warmly welcoming substitutes to assisting students in the office, she never stops, ensuring everything flows seamlessly. Thank you, Ms. Susie, for your dedication and positivity. And I want to thank her and all of our employees for the work that they do each and every day. And normally, Madam Chair, that's the end of my remarks, but today I do have one additional standout I wanted to recognize, and this one a little bit more than just a standout, but we're calling it a champion of education, and that is Mrs. Carol Cook. Since 2000, through 6 election cycles, you have embodied the core values of our school district. From demonstrating respectful and caring relationships even in the most difficult of times, whether in the pandemic or through tumultuous times in leadership, you have led with care and respect. You've modeled integrity, demonstrating fairness and doing what is right for all children. You've led with cultural competence, honoring different cultures, participating in countless community organizations, and you've specifically valued the benefit that individual differences bring to our school district. You've led with responsibility, seeking opportunities for continuous improvement, especially when it's come to the governance of our school board. You have shown others your connectedness, with deeply rooting yourself in our community and with school boards across the state, willing to train others and transfer your knowledge from your distinguished career. And perhaps above all, you've demonstrated your commitment to children, families, and the community in an unquestioned way. You've been the embodiment of commitment to the school district and the children of Pinellas County. You once said when you first ran for office that you wanted to make a good school district a great school district. Well, Mrs. Cook, you leave on top as board chair today and as an A school district with the respect and admiration of your colleagues in this room and school boards across the state. Congratulations on 24 remarkable years on the board and 51 years of active involvement in Pinellas County Schools. You are more than a standout. You are a champion of education. Congratulations and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you.
And that, Madam Chair, is the end of my report. Back to you.
Thank you doesn't seem like enough, but that's what you're getting right now. Thank you. And now I hesitate, but I'm going to ask if there are items to be introduced by our attorney.
Madam Chair, I would just like to thank you for your service, your guidance to me over the years, and just know that you have faithfully implemented your oft-stated motivation, which is to do what is in the best interest of the kids of the district. Congratulations.
Thank you. Oh, boy. Now, items introduced by the board. Okay, we'll just move right on. All right, Mrs. Long.
Carol Cook, you are not just one of the most amazing school board members I know, but you are a dear friend. You are an incredible woman inside and out, and you are so kind to everyone. This has been the most honorable 8 years serving with you, and I'm going to miss you so much.
Thank you. Anyone? Mrs. Myers?
Thank you for your leadership. I'm not a crier, I can't, sorry. Your leadership is second to none. And coming into this board, there's a lot of uncertainty. And you have been kind, always, from day one. And you have really shaped this board. You have led this board in a way that even if you aren't the chair, you always have us come together You always help us to work together, to come together for consensus and for what's best for our students. And I have to tell you, I'm really going to miss you. Thank you so much for all of your years of service. And thank you so much for the time that we've spent together since I've been elected to this board.
Thank you. Okay. We can, all right. Ms. Kane?
Oh my goodness. Wow. Mrs. Cook, congratulations on this incredible life achievement. You are such an example for so many across the state in how to be a good leader. And something we need more than even our own duties is to see how someone else before us has done such an outstanding job, and you've been that example for so many of us. And it has been an absolute honor to serve with you over the last 6 years. I have learned a tremendous amount by your example and by all of your wisdom that you have provided all of us in so many situations in the last 6 years, so many unforeseen situations and times when we really needed it. You are our strength. You are the rock of this school board, and we truly appreciate all that you have brought, both in the past and also continue to bring through your wisdom through the years. So thank you so much for all of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I mentioned earlier that over these years you've been chair 6 times and vice chair 6 times. There have been, I believe, about 450 school board meetings that Carol has attended, about 400 workshops, which probably is about 2,000 hours spent there, plus your time in leadership, plus the work you've done with the Florida School Board Association across the state and with our school board, as has been stated. So the work is there. You clearly have put in the hours and done the work. When it comes to leadership, though, I go back to John Paul Jones, the father of the U.S. Navy, who said, it is by no means enough that an officer of the Navy be a capable mariner. You must be that, of course, but also a great deal more. So you must do the work as you have done, but a great deal more. He says he should be the soul of tact, patience, justice, firmness, and charity. And you display all of those characteristics: tact, patience, justice, firmness when you need to be, and charity. And I want to say that you are leaving this district and this school board in very strong and stable shape, and I promise you I will do my very best to be a strong and stable board member moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Peters. I'm holding up pretty well. I'm holding up pretty well.
I, of course, echo everything that everybody has already said. I'll say more to you in private. Your sense of humor, Carol, in the sometimes very quiet or awkward, funny, sometimes very out loud, but your sense of humor that brings us all back to center and all back to grounded helps to keep things light. Your smile, your laughter. Will be greatly missed.
Thank you. Okay. All right.
Thank
all right.
you, Mrs.
All right,
Cook.
Ms. Edmond.
Just a few announcements before I
Good.
go on to singing your praises. Pinellas Education Foundation's Take Stock in Children program, the applications are still available until December 15th. One of the items that the board voted on today was the disaster recovery services, and I just want to commend Superintendent Hendrick and staff for that item, because many districts are school board members that I've spoken to are and have in the past really struggled with navigating FEMA and insurance claims to the point where it absorbed their staff so much and to become detrimental. So thank you for that item. And then last week, Mrs. Hind and I attended the Greater Consortium of School Boards meeting to develop our platform. And I have to just thank Ms. Eisen and Ms. Dole again for their support with that work, because the majority of our platform items are on the draft platform that will go out to member districts for vote. Also, we were able to pass a resolution that will go before district members to make the transition from president to president-elect a lot more smoother. And as you may know, soon I'll become the president of the consortium, and we'll be having events within our district, which is really, really great for us and the students and school boards throughout the county. So I want to thank you all for your support. And that, finally, Mrs. Cook, it has been an honor to work with you, not only as in the school board member capacity, but through Florida School Boards Association. Hearing and learning your impact on leadership, board governance, how to remain above the fray, as one would say, is just commendable, because it takes a lot to sit up here when things aren't going your way and to say what you need to say and move forward. And that's one of the things that you made clear about serving as a board member. It's not going to be all sunny skies and roses. There will be challenges, as Superintendent Hendrick mentioned. Going through the pandemic was a challenge. Recovery efforts was also a challenge, and making sure that our board is not dysfunctional, because we've seen the impact that has on the community at large. So again, I want to thank you for being you, because you are definitely a unique person and you will be missed. However, I know that you're a call away, and we won't be breaking sunshine if we call you and vent. So I look forward to speaking with you after giving you some time to celebrate, and congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you. Thank you. And I won't be changing my phone number anytime soon, so that'll be good. That'll be good. All right, is there any other information that needs to be brought forward? Do we have any recommendations or requests?
Board Chair Cook. It's not a request, but there was a recommendation from Ms. Hine about the plaque at the Michael A. Grego Leadership Institute to more summarize who he was. As we know, the name will be shortened, so I did take note of that. I do want to echo, you have the most wonderful sense of humor. I think most people don't know, because she does it very quietly. And because you had the holiday party, we also all know where you live.
Oh, that's
So
right.
thank you.
You can run, but you can't hide. All righty. Okay. It is my turn now. Normally, you wouldn't know by today, but I stay pretty quiet unless there is something that needs to be celebrated. So since this is the last time, I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to celebrate you. I'm also known as that person who gets teary-eyed when a board member is leaving because a team is breaking up. So I usually carry this little thing. Today, I have this. And I'm going to put it right here, just in case. Mr. Hendrick mentioned it, that when I joined the board, my whole platform item was to make a good school district great. I wanted it to get better and better and better. Pinellas County was already known as an area or a district that was changing how education was being viewed. We were already gaining notoriety across the state. And so I wanted to be part of that, and I wanted to see Pinellas become even better. The excitement was there, and I wanted to be part of it. We have excelled, and we are currently an A district, in case people didn't know that. But we are there because of the people. I'll get it together just a minute. Because of the people in this district, whether it is the parents, whether it's food and nutrition, whether it's the classroom assistants, whether it's the teachers, whether it's our police force, whether it is our psychologists and social workers, our community partners like the Education Foundation, our bus drivers, our administrators, our teachers, everybody who is involved, our past and present board, have all had an impact, even the tutors, and I will say our superintendents. Everyone in this building, everyone at Walter Pinell, they all know why they're here. They're here for the students. And because they know that the role they play is important in their education. And they focus on what's best for the kids. We have become a great district. And it's on the backs of every one of you. They know that they are a part of striving for what we envision as 100% student success. Mr. Hendrick, you have taken the reins and you have added your own personality and your own touch to it. You followed great leadership and you have taken it to the next level. Your ability to know when to push and when to show compassion is a rare combination, and you have that. And Pinellas County is fortunate to have you. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to work and learn with a lot of really amazing people that have helped me understand issues and helped me put things together, and that is many of the people that are sitting right there. You have taken the time and the patience of helping me understand things when I go and say, this makes no sense to me. And oftentimes, they make it so that I understand now and it makes sense. So thank you. When recently I was asked if I would say a few words, I declined because I had the same lump in my throat that I have now. There's an expression that your actions speak louder than words. I hope that my actions have shown everyone in this district how much I appreciate what they do and how important they are to the children. People have said, congratulations on your retirement, and I even have mixed feelings about that because this hasn't been a job to me. This has been a passion project. And I'm just glad I'm able to continue it for a while so I can ease out of it. I didn't think I would be working right up until the 18th, however, but I can kind of ease out of it. I also want to let this board know how proud I am of you. You have demonstrated the skills necessary to make the difference in the lives of children. You have had opportunities for discussion with different viewpoints. We've always also had situations where we could have become very divisive. And because you stood above that, we didn't have those problems. We continued to function as a board that had the same focus, and that was of children. This is a very, very strange job. And when a new person comes on, it takes time for them to learn. And I hope that as a new board member comes on, you'll show the same kind of understanding and grace that you were shown as a new board member, and that we continue to show each other as a new board member. I can walk away from here knowing that we have a strong team that's going to continue to do a good job. I am so very proud of each of you. I'm going to do it. It's comforting to know that it is a competent group that will be continuing to work with you. And I hope you're just as happy knowing you have a very competent and exceptional group. And it's very comforting to know that you will be keeping the students in mind as you move forward. I am leaving, and I can honestly say, as I said earlier, This district went from good to great, and I will say outstanding. And I'm proud to have played a small part. To the voters of Pinellas County, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to serve. It has been an honor, and I have tremendously appreciated the honor and the time and the opportunity. My family is here today, and I'd like you to stay. I know. Our son Cameron, our daughter Courtney, and my husband Ed. I may have to talk to you later. You can't do this job without the support of your family. They have stood by me. They have listened to me gripe and complain when I didn't get my way or when something was going on. They have been there when I've been confused as to, you know, here's something coming up and I need to have a different perspective. They have been there. You've worked hard on my campaigns, and you've even dragged your friends into them. And so I appreciate that as well. They were at my first meeting, and they're here at my last. I want to thank you and publicly tell you how much I love you. Thank you for being my support system. You may sit down now. This job cannot be done without the support of your family. And I hope you all have that, because it makes a big difference. Finally, so now's when you all are supposed to start listening. My prayer for all of you who remain is that you don't just settle for outstanding, that you strive for magnificent, that you reach that 100% student success that all of us have envisioned, because that's what our students deserve. They deserve nothing less. And so, with that, if there is no objection, for the last time, I adjourn this meeting. Thank you. And now we'll open it for public participation. Do we have any speakers? Mrs. Houck.
Yes, Madam Chair, there are currently 6 speakers.
Good, thank you. Would you call the first 2?
Sure. The first 2 are Reagan Miller and Riley Rice.
If you'd like to, you can go over to the other and be ready when we speak. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. Good
Yes.
afternoon, Madam Chair, school board members, Superintendent Hendrick, and staff. My name is Reagan Miller, and I'm the Vice President of Advocacy for the Pinellas County Council PTA. And today, I have the honor of standing here on behalf of Pinellas County Council PTA to recognize the incredible career of Mrs. Carol Cook as she retires after over 20 years of dedicated service. It's actually a lot more than that, but on the school board, to our schools, teachers, students, and families. 3 minutes simply is not enough to capture the full extent of your contributions and impact on Pinellas County schools. Over the past 2 decades, Carol has shown a dedication to our community that is both inspiring and unwavering. In every role she's taken on, she has brought her deep passion for education and her commitment to the well-being of our students and staff. Carol never strayed far from her PTA roots, and I think I speak for everyone when I say we are so grateful that you did not. She was always more than willing to step in and help us become better advocates, bringing a wealth of experience and insight to every discussion. Year after year, she taught at our fall workshops, and it was a frequent refrain from participants that Carol's class was their favorite. Her energy, her wisdom, and her approachable nature made a lasting impact on everyone she worked with. Carol also attended countless PTA meetings, celebrations, and events, always staying to connect with families, listen to parents, and support teachers. She was nearly always the last to leave, and I think that says so much about who Carol is. Someone who genuinely cares about people and wants to hear their stories. She has created a sense of community wherever she's gone, and that's something that all of us will miss deeply. On a personal level, I want to say how much I've enjoyed working with you, Carol, over the years. Your profound knowledge of our district, your dedication to fairness and compassion for everyone you have encountered has made you an irreplaceable leader and friend. Your blend of deep institutional knowledge and unwavering empathy for others has shaped you as a school board member, and you leave behind a legacy that is both powerful and enduring. Carol, on behalf of Pinellas County Council PTA, we thank you, we honor you, and we know we will fill the absence of your presence at every future event, although I'm not letting you go very far, and gathering. You've been an incredible friend, mentor, and leader to all of us. We wish you nothing but joy in this next chapter, though you will be deeply missed. Thank you.
Thank you. And good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Riley Rice, and I'm a student in the Pinellas County School Board District. Today, I'd like to address an issue that's been on the minds of a lot of students and a lot of parents recently, and that is the inconsistent and frankly unfair enforcement of the dress code policy throughout the district. It seems as if the policy is only enforced when district leaders decide to make it a concern to them. This pattern is not only confusing, but also deeply frustrating for students, parents, and even school faculty alike, as we are unsure of when certain policies will be taken seriously year-round and when the education of the students will be put first. If the dress code policy is going to be implemented, it cannot be something that is done selectively and needs to be enforced consistently and fairly throughout every school in the district, starting from the very beginning of each school year. But right now, that has not been happening. Throughout the 4 years that I've been in high school, it seems as if the dress code is only a concern when someone from the district comes to visit. Why is that? Why aren't the district leaders more strictly enforcing administration to implement the policy in all schools all of the time? Instead, as students, we see a pattern of picking and choosing when it becomes a concern to them. Involving the contents and enforcement of the dress code policy, what is even more troubling is the fact that the dress code seems to disproportionately target girls, despite guys also wearing out-of-code clothing such as shorts, hats, tank tops, and pants showing undergarments that any girl at any school would be dress coded for. Why is it that mostly girls are the ones facing the penalties? This is not only unfair, but it perpetuates sexist double standards that shouldn't exist in our school systems. I do believe that a dress code policy is needed in our schools. However, when it is taken away instructional time because students are late to class as they need to find a sweatshirt or sweatpants, it affects our preparation for our courses, and that is where the issue begins. The policy is not what is most important in our schools. It is the level of education and the support that the students and especially the teachers receive. Don't you think that we should be more focused on the educational values of the students than if they are in dress code? I understand that my administration and teachers are already stretched thin, so why are we taking away their time and having them punish students when there are much larger issues at hand? Where is their support? I didn't come here to try and get the dress code policy removed or for it to be weakened, but instead to voice what many have been contemplating. Every day, the topic of the policy is brought up, and many times I've had peers ask me if there's anything I could do about it. They feel as if they were overshadowed and overpowered, and if they've been backed into a corner. I felt it important to talk about it here today for light to be shed on the inconsistent policies in our school environments. If the policy is more importantly stressed upon by the leaders at the county and district level, then the admin within our schools would feel more inclined to constantly enforce it, ultimately resulting in greater understanding from the students. It's time for the school board to take a closer look at this issue and make the changes necessary to create a more just and consistent policy for everyone.
Thank you. Our next two speakers?
The next two speakers are Terry Lynn George and Mark Clutho.
Good
afternoon. Madam Chair, school board members, Mr. Hendrick, and staff. My name is Terry Lynn George. I am a member of the Arts for Complete Education, or ACE for short. I serve on the ACE committee as a Pinellas County Council PTA representative. The message I bring today is from all ACE members, past and present. ACE would like to thank, congratulate, and celebrate Carol Cook for her extraordinary service to Pinellas County Schools. Ms. Cook has always had an unwavering commitment to students and families. She knows that the arts are a critical part of a comprehensive quality education leading to higher achievements for all of our students. Long before the first referendum passed in 2004, Ms. Cook was instrumental in ensuring that the arts were considered core subjects in Pinellas County Schools. 20 years later, arts programs are not only thriving, but many of our programs serve as national models. Over the years, Mrs. Cook has served Pinellas County with a steady hand, working collaboratively with a wide variety of board members and administratives. Her commitment to arts education has never wavered. Ms. Cook has served on local, state, and leadership capacities throughout her career. She has educated many leaders about the value of arts education, has mentored countless other board members throughout the state. We thank her for bringing such expertise to Pinellas County because of her leadership experiences. It is impossible to express adequately our appreciation for Carol Cook's extraordinary career and steadfast support for the arts education. She has truly been a champion for the arts education, and tens and thousands of students have benefited from her leadership. Her legacy will be felt far and wide. Mrs. Cook, please know that your legacy will be seen in every piece of art created by a student, every song sang, every note played, every word and line uttered on a stage, and every dance that is performed. On behalf of the Arts for Complete Education, bravo, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Mark Clutho Largo. The opinion from the 11th Circuit, 44 pages. Moms for stupidity, you know, that old saying, a broken clock is right twice a day. Well, your rules are all wrong. All wrong. And, you know, it shows you what you have for legal representation here. It's a joke. You know, all the praise here today, you know, Miss Cook on the board now since 2000. Well, she heard me from the very beginning bringing the science of high performance passive solar building. Never once did I ever hear her with remarks, people, let's build this high performance passive solar building so we don't have this kind of thing here. No. No. Not once. Not once. So we have a headline here. Can we engineer our way out of a climate crisis? No, what you're doing is you are engineering a climate crisis. That's what you fools are doing. Went by Largo High School the other day, and you have these lights on the building, orange and blue lights, decorations, more fuel pumping carbon into the atmosphere, decorations. Sheer stupidity, like making that Clearwater building oriented the wrong way. And now you have what you should have named the Grego Stupid Building.
The next two speakers are Donna Waters and Lee Bryant.
Good afternoon.
Hi, my name is Donna Waters. I am a parent of a Seminole High School student, and I'm also here to speak about the dress code. Multiple times this year, due to the Seminole High School dress code, my daughter has been sent home because her shirt covered her shorts, or her shirt was not mid-thigh. One time she was sent home because her shirt did not reach her knees. This was with leggings on. This is, I feel, a little extensive and very inconsistent. My husband and I went and dropped $800 on clothes for her so she can pass her dress code. Now, you know, in this economic time, not really a, you know, extra money that we have sitting around for fun. Once she was told to go home from an administrator that was sitting in the front office that was wearing leggings with a t-shirt tucked into them because her leggings or her shirt did not extend far enough down over her leggings. During that time when I went into the school, because that time I just went to the school to pick her up, I was told by administration that the teachers don't have a dress code, that only students have a dress code, and teachers can dress as they wish, which I found out from the principal was untrue, but it was a lower administrator that had told me that. So now the question is, are we giving these requirements to basically only girls because we feel like they are looking for sexual attention? Are we doing it because they are looking just for any attention? And is it really the school board's place to decide how these girls should present themselves to society, how they should present themselves as young women? So, in 2022, the Government Accountability Report came out showing that 90% of the banned school clothing in dress codes pertained only to females. It reported that although student dress codes cite safety as the reason for the guidelines, it just simply penalizes students. And this is from the government. Perhaps instead of publicly shaming our girls, we should teach the teachers, the RSO officers, the administration, and the male students to not overly sexualize a normal body part to the point where they cannot function in an appropriate manner. I suggest an equity audit. What proportion of student discipline is related to the dress code? And which groups are being the most impacted?
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair Cook. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You have been so instrumental in the educators and the educated in this county. Our teachers owe a great deal of debt to you. The PCTA and PESPA owes a great acknowledgement of your service. So congratulations. You've set a very high bar for your successor. It will not be easy to fill. Our Reading Opens the World event has been rescheduled for after hurricane season, quite often delayed. It will be December the 14th at Johns Hopkins Middle School. Finally, we will be able to distribute the 30,000 books that we're going to be passing out to the children in Pinellas County. I went over and looked at them yesterday. Walter Pownell, 25 pallets of books. It is an amazing thing. The Betty Ray Ivy Discovery Center, PCTA and PESPA were pushing the idea of the Early Childhood Center for years. I'm glad to see it's there, and it's named after a wonderful, wonderful leader in Pinellas County. I'd also like to thank the voters of Pinellas County for passing the referendum again. It shows that the voters of Pinellas, the citizens of Pinellas, value their school system, their educators, their children, and the future, because this is a big commitment on the part of the citizens of Pinellas County. And finally, I have been asked to broach the idea or the problem of the teachers at Madeira Beach Middle School, or K through 8, losing their personal items that have been left in their classrooms. There's been a lot of work done, a lot of promises made, but the county hired a contractor for the cleanup, tossed out many of their things, their personal items, and they were wondering, and I am wondering on their behalf, does the district's insurance policy include personal items for the teachers? And if so, I would like to see a copy of the policy so that I can relay the message and the contents to the teachers at Madeira Beach K through 8. Thank you for your time.
Very good, thank you. Are there any more speakers?
Madam Chair, there are no more speakers for this meeting.
All right, then that ends our morning. You may join us in B203, is that where it is? ABC 203, for some cake. All righty, thank you very much. Yes? Oh, okay. In a little bit.